Using a cue chart or a question matrix can be a really effective way of coming up with a question to help guide your thinking. And not just any question, but a question that really includes deep critical thought and synthesis, which are skills that you will be building in upper level courses in high school and beyond. So as we can see here with our cue chart, there's axes that go horizontal as well as vertical. And basically, you're going to try and come up with questions, hopefully, that will end up in the dark shaded area of this cue chart. So to illustrate what I mean, you'll notice that running horizontally across the top of the cue chart, there are things that say is, are, was, did, do, does, can, could, should, would, will, and might. Now, the very left side of this horizontal axis are aspects of questioning that are pretty straightforward and do not really include much critical thinking whatsoever. As you move along towards the right, the end of that horizontal axis, you're coming up with ideas that include more predictive thought, synthesis, and critical analysis. That same concept applies to the vertical axis on this cue chart as well. So along the left side of the cue chart, you'll see who, what, where, when, how, why. These seem like simple basic questions that we use on a daily basis, but they are organized in the same way as that top axis. So at the very top of that axis, the who, what, where, when questions, these are questions that do not ask anybody to apply much critical thinking. So, for example, if we were going to be talking about the story of Cinderella, we could use this cue chart to come up with a question that says, who was Cinderella? So I'm taking that first line of the vertical axis and I'm combining it with the first line of the horizontal axis. Who is Cinderella? Now, that's not really the type of question that you're going to be able to write a whole essay on because it's very simply answered and doesn't include much critical thinking whatsoever. Now, we could ask another question, which might be looking at the left axis, who might be the person that Cinderella marries? Just coming up with a who might question. Now, you'll notice that if you're following the lines in the matrix, that brings us into a nice gray shaded area, which means that the level of thinking and critical thinking happening in that question is higher than in the first one, which was who is Cinderella. Now, if you really want a fantastic question that asks you to use predictive thought and inference and critical analysis, you want to aim for questions that would fit in the bottom right quadrant of this cue chart or question matrix, where it's nice dark gray. Questions like how might, why will, why would. So you could come up with a question like, why would the evil stepmother have tried to prevent Cinderella from going to the ball? Now, again, this is a more predictive question, and it's asking you to use your inferencing abilities, which are in and of themselves critical higher order thinking skills. So, the cue chart, when you are not given a question to deal with as a student, can be a really simple and effective way of determining a question for yourself. So first, you will want to devise a question that fits into that dark gray quadrant of the cue chart. And then from there, you want to try and answer that question. And that's what you will be doing in your major essay.